All right. Welcome, everybody, to the 48th episode of the Arena of Ideas podcast. Your podcast, I'm the host, right? Episode 48 is One Person's Trash is Another Person's Treasure. All the things we want to discard, throw away, and do all these other things with when people can use those, reuse them, repurpose them, and even have them call it new, but used for the first time. All right, it's great to be back again for the 48th opportunity, I call. The opportunity to get out information that is a part of the world known as podcasting. And, of course, you know it's your podcast, and it's a chance to get out what you want to do and you want to say. If it's a conversation, then that's fine. Or if it's just me doing my episodes, it doesn't matter. It's that opportunity that I call it for us to get together again and do this all over again. Again, 48th episode. One person's trash is another person's treasure. All right. So anyway, there's many things talking about the border, and there's a lot of things getting out there about other things. Well, that's all being, pushed to the forefront and everything else. Well, I'm trying to cover a lot of other different ground and get different perspectives and different ideas and different topics of discussion other than, the norm and what, everyone else is following through with. All right. So anyway, there is a song by a rapper named Macklemore, and the song is called Thrift Shop. That song was on one day, and I was sitting there listening, and man, I'll tell you what, it was on there, and it started talking about one person's trash is another person's come up. That's the same thing as one person's trash is another person's treasure, but it's, as the kids would call it, it's out there, and it's fresh and new, and it's something that they're discussing. So anyway, I have a few of the lyrics and things to it. I can't play the song, of course, because it's not royalty free for me, and I don't have the authorization from Macklemore himself to be able to put this out, but I can go through the words to it, right? Exactly. I can do that part. I've done that part before for many songs. All right, Thrift Shop by Macklemore, and it's actually by Macklemore and another person. Anyway, so I'm going to pop some tags. I've got $20 in my pocket. I'm hunting, looking for a come up. That's the same thing as for the treasure part. This is effing awesome. The F word. Okay. Keep it classy. Propped up in leopard mink. Girl standing next to me. Probably should have washed this. Smells like R. Kelly's sheets. But bleep, it was 99 cents. Bag it. Again, cussing. I'm going to try to keep that out of the whole process. I'm going to take your grandpa's style. Can I have his hand-me-downs? One man's trash, that's another man's come up. Again, little quotes there. Yeah, it's not all about this EP, true. Just something got my attention from the repurposing, relatives' clothes, so on and so forth. Someone never seeing something for the first time. And, it's old to you, but it's new to someone else, correct? All right. Trying to find style on a penny budget, etc. Well, especially now, in 2024 with inflation and everything else, you're really seriously trying to find this now, trying to find a way in which to have everything stretch and go farther, especially and out now until further notice, right? Exactly, guys. All right, so just so you can find inspiration from anything in life, a song, billboard, movie, etc., or even having a conversation with someone, might conjure podcast gold, as I call it. Yes, this is much hyperbole and even tongue-in-cheek at times, yet it got me this episode just listening to this catchy song. And it is. If you get a chance to listen to it, please do listen to it, kind of go through it. It kind of gives you a different perspective, a young person's perspective in anything, finding great things out of everything. And pretty much that's what this episode is all about. Again, one person's trash is another's treasure. Episode 48 of this podcast. We're going to dive right into it. And then later we're going to go into every couple of episodes, what I'm going to be doing is going through the framework, foundation, and fabric of the Arena of Ideas podcast. It kind of just goes back through my ideas and things of what I normally would do for an open. I'm going to get back into that in every couple of episodes. I'm going to go to the process and have that in there. It's important because it's still keeping, to the forefront of my mind and all of us that, I'm changing the format and doing different things thanks to wonderful people out there like Tim and Savannah and a few other people that are just like, Mike, you got to change some things up and do things differently. So anyway, I don't want to lose sight as to what I did as the process in what I do for my podcast. So we're going to dive into this and then I'll get into a little bit of that. And we got a few other things like I've got, of course, the Comedy Corner, but the microphone check today is going to be thanks to Santana. She's from Pueblo. She knows who she is. She wanted her namesake as the microphone check, and that person is Carlos Santana. She's named after the famous, amazing, eclectic electric guitar guru Carlos Santana. Amazing. I love guitarists anyway, but especially with it being named after her and everything else, that's awesome. And then, of course, remember the legends. We have just lost Willie Mays. So basically, he'll be the Remember the Legend. But let's dive right into this episode and get out. Episode 48. One person's trash is another's treasure. All right. So way back in 1860, Hector, red leather, yellow leather. Come on, Mike. Let's go. Pull this together. In 1860, Hector Uarts, popular Tales of the West Highlands, wrote this famous passage, foreboding the eternal question. One man's rubbish may be another's treasure. Other related examples may be one man's meat is another man's poison. One man's loss is another man's gain. What is useless to one person is valuable to another. Very much so. All right. So anyway, then I'm going to get into some details and some informational things and things like that. And like all the episodes, it's an awareness exercise. If you come up with ideas and have things and ideas of yourself pertaining to this episode and different things that you think are more important, like everyone holds dear certain things and everyone can see certain things and be able to create things out of it. Again, this is kind of the motivational reason why I'm doing this episode. Okay, so a bargain is an agreement between two or more parties as to what each party will do for each other. The following has a huge following and are the real reason discounts and deals are a huge craze, virally popular online apps and more, right? Exactly. A garage sale, yard sale, moving sale, so on and so forth. All things must go sale, so on and so forth. Are informational events for the sale of used goods by private individuals. This is really fun for some who like to go out, and where items are marked with prices is when you need to take on the mantra and skills of customer meets junk appraiser who knows the fair market value of everything in their head. And you got people in every family has one of these on speed dial. They also could work for the famous show about a real life Price is Right. Correct? Everyone has that person. Anyway, place called Pawn Stars on or was on TV. There's even their own vernacular and names for brick and mortar places from the earliest of days to modern deal houses, in quotes. A secondhand store, five and dime, bazaar, boutique, co-op, flea market, mall, mart, outlet shop, thrift shop, cut rate store, emporium, discount house, 5 and 10 superette, and the list goes on and on for a country mile. Literally. Okay, so going into some definitions and stuff here. Shopaholic is a compulsive term used for people in the millions worldwide who can't seem to stop themselves in the quest for finding a bargain. Some people are they just have an addiction, if you will, or an attraction to just compulsively buying things. I mean, everyone gets on those kicks. You got money in your pocket or whatever else is going on. And you got to kind of look into the need versus want kind of mantra on this. Again, I'm going to be explaining that later, but it's need versus a want. If I get this, do I truly need it? Or do I just want it and I'm making it a need? So therefore, I put priority on it. And next thing you know, I'm all over the fact that, I need to get this, or you need to get this, or they need to get this, or whoever out there is listening. Shake your head, nod your head, do whatever you want to. The truth is, everyone can be put in this category at some time in your life. I mean, you never know. And it's in the fishbowl kind of a situation. If you're in the fishbowl and you're doing this, guess what? Well, you're a part of it. You're not seeing the outside looking in. Sometimes you do need those outside voices and those outside influences to help you in this process. As everyone who's ever listened to episode 1 all the way through to 47 presently, what's going on is everything I do is an awareness exercise. It's an opportunity for me to get out information and things that matter to you, matter to me, and matter to us all. And it's all really the fabric and foundation and framework of why I'm doing this podcast, right? I mean, I'm beholden to myself, to the research, and to the topics of discussion and all conversations, of course. All right, so I'll read the disclaimer about the podcast here in a minute. Let's just continue on. We'll power through this and we'll keep going. All right, so due to the fact that it is awareness exercise and there is a good and bad, positive and negative side to all things, here we go. Compulsive shopping disorder, CSD. I'm not saying anyone who has ever tried to save money, have a tote full of coupons, or use discount apps trying to stretch the mighty dollar, guilty of this practice. Yes, shopping is and can be an addiction. I'm guilty of binge shopping from time to time. Everyone is. CSD or oniomania. There we go. Oniomania is a behavioral addiction that involves an uncontrollable need to shop and spend money, even if it leads to negative consequences. A shopping addiction can have a destructive or a person's life, finances, relationships, health, and quality of life. All of it can be teetering on the brink in this situation. And again, only the person themselves can come to grips with the situation for themselves. They have to have the realization that maybe this is going on. Maybe they have a tinge of it. Maybe it's 1%. Maybe it's, 75%. It doesn't matter. The bottom line is that people can get help for these things. It's important. All right. So I'm not covering this to bring down this episode, life, or call anyone out on their vices. AOI is an awareness exercise of all things. There are the following in place if needed, and people are teetering on the brink or might be borderline to this, right? There's 12. Okay, first of all, there's a 12-step program such as Spenders Anonymous to help overcome this compulsive problem, therapy seeking a mental health professional, online, in person, texting, etc., self-help alternatives, shopping addiction hotline. And this is I'm going to repeat this a couple times. The shopping addiction hotline is 855-945-4310. Again, one more time, the addiction hotline, and it's probably also a website too, is 855-945-4310. Very well, mindaddictionhelp.com. So here's where we go. Okay. Very well mind. And there's a place called addictionhelp.com. So you've got the addiction hotline which I just aforementioned, and addictionhelp.com. 2 sites who can help online. Note, out of every 18 people, 1 is addicted to shopping. Look, I thought it important to also give the dark side and dangers of the abuse of shopping and some ways to cope and reach out for help. Now today, shopping has become a smorgasbord, if you will, of ways you can feed the beast, if you will, in quotes. With TV infomercials, shopping networks, and commercials bring the old school way, where everywhere one on their landline phones to do their bidding for shopping. And this is a long time ago, old school. From the internet came along and created widespread pandemonium and access to many more options to get when the consumer needs. When the consumer has needs. Today, what used to be the size of a room, the first computers, decades ago, is now in your hands, being phones with processors take the actual revenue and technology from billions of dollars now into the trillions, projected to 7.9 trillion by 2026. Anyway, I mean, the crazy part, and that's some information there for you, but the crazy part is that, a long time ago, it used to be that, and they still have like shopping networks on cable television. They still have, some infomercials and different things, and some shows with commercials are dedicated even to selling, various specific products, and having, of course, you've got different famous people and different things that try to allure people into buying certain things, and even down to countdown clocks and all these other ways in which they try to get you. We only have 5 left. We only have 4 left. Tick tock, tick tock. You got to hurry up and get this, and buy this item. You got to hurry up and get this and buy this, or else this is it. This will be the last time. But then a month later, you're going to see the same thing again. You'll see it all over again. All right. So basically, keeping on topic again, episode 48 of the Arena of Ideas podcast is one person's trash is another's treasure. Of course, that's the topic of discussion here. I mean, everyone has your vices and different things. Some people love to collect cars, collect models, collect anything and everything. And they just, I have the Stephen King library collection. And if he ever writes a book, I have to collect it because I've got the collection. But again, there's different ploys and different psychologies and different ways in which everyone out there is selling products and pushing products and using spokespeople. And it could be famous actors, or it could be sports people or anything. Just know this, that if there's a product, a widget, or something else out there that matters to someone, guaranteed you've got a crack marketing staff and everybody else that's coming up with ways in which to pimp out, if you will, or push product, or do it in such a way that you can sit there and make massive sales on things that are either shiny, or they're new, or they're just something you, right? YOU, underline exclamation point. It's going to fit that need or that want, right, for you. All right. So what I'm going to do is give myself the opportunity here. And, again, I like to break this up into bite-sized pieces. Of course, this is a podcast, so you technically can go in and hit pause, go back and, later, 20 minutes later, an hour later, whatever, go back in and, pick it right up where you are by hitting pause. But for me, I like to throw in some bumper music to break things up. So before I get more into this episode, I'm going to throw some bumper music in here, and then we're going to cut, and then we'll come right back, of course, as always. So, without further ado, this is the 48th episode of the Arena of Ideas podcast. One person's trash is another's treasure. I'm Mike Kingston, the host and creator of this podcast. We'll be right back. All right. Welcome back. I want to welcome you guys back to this 48th episode. One person's trash is another's treasure, right here on the Arena of Ideas podcast. And we were, of course, discussing the issues. And again, I gave, different ways in which people go out and shop. And in physical form, people will look through newspapers for coupons and for garage sales and yard sales and all these other things. And even talking about some of the history dealing with the, infomercials and different ways in which, on radio, on TV, print media, and all these other different ways, they would figure out to get things done, either through psychology, like taking, trying to convince you that you're thirsty. So they'll show like, a brook or maybe even a river going by or something else or whatever else it might else be. Right? Just depends on the product. It depends on what's going on. There's a lot of psychology behind the sales and everything, such as 50% of most sales. It's down to eye level and also in hand, things like that. They'll put, in fact, if you go to Sam's Club or go to your big stores, your big, outlet stores like that, they'll have people doing samples of things and showing, they'll be doing displays. And they'll be doing presentations on different things, all to try and get you to buy the mighty things that they see, or on TV with famous spokespeople, so on and so forth. Again, print media, they'll have the print commercials. If it's radio, you'll have radio commercials, and of course, television, same thing. Just the ways in which there's about 1,000,000,001 ways that they can sit there and get their products out. Right? Exactly. It was in the billions. Now it's in the trillions of dollars annually that we look at as a part of the entire process. And it's just crazy what they'll do. But I mean, anything and everything they can put in front of someone and make it colorful, shiny, or whatever else is going on, they're going to figure out a way to get it out there. Their favorite team wins a championship. All of a sudden, they are peddling the wares, right? Whatever's going on and whatever you do in your life, that's what happens. Exactly. So now back to it. Okay. All right, so now I'm not here to bore anyone with information or overwhelm anyone in this episode, right? Because I just gave out the addiction hotlines to shopaholics and people like that. It's an important thing to do because if you are dealing with this and you're listening to this episode because it interested you, it kind of got your attention. Well, I always have phone numbers, I have websites and important things on the other side because for all the good things, and maybe this is your first time and wondering, oh, wow, this is what this is about, or if you've been around and you've been dealing with this, and this is gonna, this is in the process of you listening. And again, like I say with everything, first, it's an awareness exercise. Secondly, if I have the ability to help any one person in any situation dealing with any one of my episodes, I've done my job as the creator and host of this podcast. I love it. I love doing this. It's like my own personal therapy on here, but then it's also a way in which to get out important information, some views, opinions, and all other things. So again, basically, now to stay on topic, which was the eternal question, of course. Kind of like beauty is in the eye of the beholder, trash, a loose title in perception and optics. Trash and treasure, ironically to me, is a 1 degree of separation. Being honest, broken into a few perspectives of the individual themselves, right? Rich or poor, helps this along shopping life's outcome. No pun intended, right? Punny. So yes, know this. Repurposing things, finding an audience, and market for anything, networking, innovation, creativity will leave this discussion set ablaze forever. Now, this is the topic firmly etched in your psyche. Where do you stand on this question, right? Because, let's stop and let's break this into a question here. One person's trash is another's treasure. Where do you stand on that question right there? The way I was brought up was to appreciate everything to some degree. And this question really being an opportunity to both sides, right? Because, you're going to have the highest and most elite and all these other people that are rich in our society. And, there's a lot of people that will wear something once and then they'll either throw it away or they'll give it away to Goodwill or to whatever you have as, repurposing trade posts. Repurposing places that, it's like a secondhand store, an opportunity for the second time for someone else to have that. Let's say someone is not well off and they're trying to get themselves together with an ensemble and different things together so they can try and get themselves cleaned up and look good for a job. They try to dress to impress. Or if you're just looking for a few extra bargains and deals because you're trying to fill out a closet or who knows what. Or maybe it's just something that you have a affinity for, no matter what it might be. I don't know. I can't make the determination. I just know it's a part of the process when you're talking about everything. Right? Exactly. So, all right. So basically, we'll leave this discussion set ablaze forever, right? So now, with this topic firmly etched in our psyche, where do you stand on this, right? And then, again, I want to ask that question because, and you don't have to answer, raise your hand, or do anything. You can just sit there and in your head, you could be thinking to yourself exactly kind of where do you stand with all this? All right, so I guess the next time the question is posed in conversation or on any level, any degree, and you can expound your idea and view, where do you listening remain in this equation or in the trash and treasure situation? Being on each side of the metaphorical scale, where would you be on that scale in the balance between the two scales? Kind of like having a debate ready for both sides of this discussion. The AOI podcast itself. You know how to react, comment, and communicate on this and all episodes, right? You do. What is your view of this question? Love to hear all reactions from it. Okay, so you got Michael Kingston 723 at yahoo.com. You have got my phone number, which is published in there. It's also, if you go look into the information about me, my phone number is also in there. You can text me. I've kind of scrubbed all social mania, as I call it. And again, you can do those things to communicate with me. This might be, as this thing grows and does more and more as a podcast and everything else, it might change. The perspectives and all other things might change in this process. But presently, right now, that's what I have as my opportunities for this whole thing. Okay? And then I want to give thanks to, her name is Allie. She's also featured in the Are You Needy episode on Maslow's Hierarchy of Needs. She's the person that gave me the influence and basically the motivation for that episode, Are You Needy? So again, Allie, she is from Indiana by way of Pueblo. She knows who she is. She also wanted me to kind of get into this other process about, finding everything from tires and, cans and bottles and all these other things. And you can take those things and repurpose them directly into art, into reusable things. I know people that use duct tape and things to create shoes and wallets and things like that. A person named Jared, I know him really well. He's from here in Pueblo, Colorado. That's, of course, where I'm located. He was doing a lot of that stuff and using other different items in order to create other, again, treasures, if you will, for all of us. Okay, so turning trash into treasures via repurposing is fun, easy, and a way to help the planet give back. Again, this is Allie, she's here in Pueblo. Again, Allie, thank you again for this little excerpt and adding. So from plastic bags, tires, newspaper, string, ribbon, wrappers, and more can be used to create another way to really recycle what was once things that were discarded, left for dead, if you will, finding and giving trash a second chance. The possibilities, anything is possible, not probable. And one last thing on this whole repurposing thing is recycling. Because again, with anything that does get down to where, it is put in a bag and things like that, think about the recycling process. I'm not loco crazy. on doing all this recycling stuff. I do some of it as best I can. Wherever you happen to be at, whatever's going on in your life and everything else, there are centers that you can recycle, furniture. You can recycle, basically mattresses. You can recycle electronics. You can recycle newspapers, aluminum cans. You can pretty much recycle a whole ton of things, and you can actually, in any community that you're in, any town, city, community, whatever's going on, there's ways in which to also recycle. And to be responsible as best you can to try and do your part to keep, the planet clean and beautiful and the place that we all can appreciate because, of course, we all live here, right? Exactly. So I want to again thank you, Ali, for that process there, talking about the repurposing. People can take things and they create art and they create useful things that can be used again. It's just amazing. You can fashion things. There's a lot of things on TV and shows that have these different ways in which you can use these things and do it in a productive manner, and or the recycling part where you can take, and they used to have like three compartment deals where you'd put your paper, your bottles, things like that, and maybe even your cans and do those things. Well, now there's these recycling centers where you can also go in any community and actually take whatever you happen to have and go there, or you can turn them into places like the Ark or Goodwill or things like that, places like that where they go and retake those and clean them up, and then they are able to go back out there and get these items for needy people, from blankets and jackets to, shirts, and you name it. You name the product or apparel or books or furniture or anything else. It's an awesome way really to give back and to have other people have the opportunity at the same things, right? So you got recycling, you've got these other places where you can drop things off, or you can even, look it up, Google it, or use, DuckDuckGo, or do whatever you're going to do. But if you have questions and you're wondering about all this and what to do and how to do your part, well, there's ways in which to get that done. Look within the community, within the states, within the country itself, or even the world. These are all ways that we all can do this and be responsible from our own personal standpoints and what we can do in this process. Right? Exactly. I know it's hard to believe that sometimes we get inspiration from hearing music, we watch TV, we watch movies, and certain things that happen in life, even down to interactions with other people. Things can touch, pull your heartstrings and kind of get you in a way in which you want to take and maybe take a different stand on things of importance, and all those wonderful things that happen in our lives that we all can get together and we can have an understanding when it comes to any topics of discussion, any ideas, any conversations, or whatever else happens. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump into another quick break with a little bit more music, and then I'm going to throw in the disclaimer, and then now every couple of episodes I'm going to do this part where it's the framework, foundation, and fabric of the AOI podcast, keeping in mind of, where we've gone, where I've been before, and how I'm turning this thing into something different and keeping it going and being a different animal, if you will, as a podcast, but then also keeping those same ideas, principles, and the foundations, if you will, of what I do. So let me throw a little bit more bumper music. We'll come back. I'm going to throw the disclaimer in there for this podcast, a few things out there, and then we'll get back into the other side of the segments, as you know. The Comedy Corner, the Mic Check, and Remember the Legends. So anyway, here we go. Once again, this is the 48th episode of the Arena of Ideas podcast. I'm your host and creator, Mike Kingston. We'll be right back. All right. We are back. Thank you once again for listening to this and all episodes of the Arena of Ideas podcast. All right, disclaimer, I didn't get a chance to read it earlier, but it's important to know this, okay? So, the views and opinions expressed in this and all Arena of Ideas podcast episodes are that of the host and guests, not to be taken out of context or misrepresented by any means possible. Right? Exactly. Oh, and an update for you. We've added Podbean. You've added, Podbean. There's Audible. There is a few more places. So now it's over 20 places to listen. So however and wherever you get your podcast, this is the way in which to listen to all these episodes, right? And so what you can do is, helping me out is going in and wherever you listen, thumbs up, follow, notifications, hit all those things. Whatever you do and however you do it for wherever you're listening, please, and it helps me in a complete fashion. The other part that can also help me is if you look at the top of wherever you're listening, at the bottom, there is a little note in there from me, and there's a little link. If you click that link, that's an opportunity for you to support and be a part of, even closer to being a part of this podcast. It's a chance where I have it set at, I believe, $3. And it's a chance monthly that for $3, you can sit there and help support my podcast. In the process of me working and building this and getting more and more content out there. And content is gold, right? Content is king. So anyway, if that's the way in which to do it. You don't have to, though. Guess what? You can do that or not, but it is a way to help support my podcast, and I want to get that out there for sure. Okay, so anyway, again, I was talking about the framework. It's the framework, the foundation, and the fabric of the Arena of Ideas podcast. About every 2 or 3 episodes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get back to throwing these out there, and really quickly, it's a part of my whole open was like this, and of course, a few people have helped me, instructing me, and kind of guiding me along the way to make this a better deal, a better opportunity, and a better podcast experience completely. So I still want to bring this back and make everybody understand that this is really the framework, foundation, and fabric of what this podcast is about. Okay, so without further ado, this is the experiment at the crossroads between content and conversation reinvented. It's a podcast for anything, everything, all things for everyone. This is your place to be. It is the triad of talk. It's the triad of talk, the forum of focus, straight fire, no holds barred, off the cuffs, shoot from the hip, wake up call. Those are all different ways in which we can address things in conversation and everything else, correct? So anyway, that's it. I am the conduit of content, the voice of the people, for the people, and by the people. This is an all-information podcast. And if you're screaming at the TV, the radio, the sky, or in your head about the BS that's out there, this is your place to be. I'm trying to live my best life by doing this podcast. If you've got rants, raves, beefs, issues, problems, if you're happy about things, sad about things, or otherwise, this is truly, seriously, guys, this is your focus, and this is your place to be. And no matter if it's a conversation or a topic of discussion, if it's me doing this format here, or if I'm doing a conversation with someone, and again, the triad of talk is about the thumbs up, thumbs down of Days of Rome, the Knights of the Round Table, and of course, Town Hall. Those are the formats, the ways in which I look at this. There you go. This is kind of what I'm going to be bringing back on every so often, just to keep you guys, keep in perspective and retrospect as to what I'm truly doing. Because again, we're changing things up, but we're keeping them in constant and thought and the same processes. It's just we're changing things up. But again, those are the framework, the foundation and fabric of what this is all about. So now what we're going to do is we're going to break into the comedy corner, and then I've got my mic check, and I have got my Remember the Legend, and then we wrap a bow on this 48th episode of the podcast. We wrap a bow on it, and we get into some things. Oh, and one last thing before we close this thing up and we go into those other parts. What's going to happen is this. If this is your first time listening, I want to welcome you to hear this destination known as this pod, known as where you are, the AOI podcast. And in an episode, go back and peruse them all. Listen to all of them. I got people that listen to all of them. Some that listen to just a couple, or ones that strike your fancy. Anyway, if it's your first time here, welcome. I thank you for being here. If you've come back and you're listening and you're waiting on that next notification, on the next episode, and that wonderful content, that wonderful thing we're talking about, content, and getting this information out there, I want to thank you for coming back here. Everyone out there listening, regardless, I think of you as my family and friends, and everything and all things, all of you. So anyway, thank you very much for being back here. And if it's your first time, or if you've been here every single time, I thank all of you and appreciate every one of you, each and every one of you out there. All right, so we're going to get into the comedy corner, and then we'll go down the line. All right, so here we go. My poor failed attempt at humor, but it's dad jokes, and they're darn funny. You'll enjoy them. Okay, here we go. So, I was just watching a documentary on beavers. Best damn show I've ever seen. Why do choirs keep buckets handy? So they can carry their tune. Did you hear about the kidnapping at school? It's okay. He woke up. All right, there's the comedy corner. Okay. All right, staying on task. Now, the next part is, of course, the microphone check, or called mic check. Thanks to Nick once again from out of Pueblo. He knows who he is. Thanks to Nick and I coming up with the brainstorm for this, because I love music so much. It gives me the opportunity. I got, you got these, teenagers, if you will, or whoever, and they have a shirt on. It could be anyone, the Beatles or whatever. Anyway, they have no clue what they have on. They don't know anything about the band or anything. They can't even give me a favorite song by whoever the group is, right? And so I just sit there and I'm like, well, what's your favorite song? Don't have an answer. Older people may have forgotten the different groups and things. Young people may not know who they are, but this is a bridge between the two. The bridge between all of that is, of course, the mic check. And today, I told you about her before. She's from Pueblo. Her name is Santana. She's named after the namesake of Carlos Santana, living legend, icon on guitar, virtuoso, was trained by ear and has learned the complexities of so many different formats and things. Well, anyway, thank you again, Santana from Pueblo. She knows who she is, for giving me this opportunity to talk about, again, one of my favorite performers and favorite guitarists in music, period. All right, that's my sounder, if you will, for the mic check. Again, Santana, thank you so much. I had a great chat with you about this. You know your history about, you're named after your namesake, if you will. Awesome job. Good job. Well, here we go. So Carlos Santana, all right, singer-songwriter, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, virtuoso guitar, self-taught, born 7/20 of 1947, so July 20th, 1947, his birthday's coming around the corner, 76 years old. Carlos Humberto Santana Barragan. I know I probably butchered that, and I'm sorry, but I can do the best I can do. Sometimes all of us get tongue-tied. Well, that's quite a name. That would be a lot to put on a name tag, wouldn't it? Yes, it would. So, an American guitarist who formed the self-titled band, Santana, born and raised in Mexico, came to fame in the late 60s and 70s. He pioneered a fusion of rock and Latin American jazz genres, Latin rock, blues rock, and jazz fusion, making the Rolling Stones top 100 greatest guitarists. And by the way, let's go back to it, shall we? He is a rock guitarist, but he's also a jazz guitarist. And I've said before, in jazz, if you can play jazz, you can play anything. Jazz is literally the crossover of all things when it comes to music. If you can play jazz, you can do anything and play anything in the music industry, period. Again, he's a top 100 greatest guitarist. He's won 10 Grammys and made the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1998. Yes, he fought many barriers and came into his own on the music scene with jazz and rock influences. Carlos was self-taught. All instruments he learned, violin and guitar. Hey, what do you know? Violin and guitar. He started at the young age of 5 years old when he did this. Amazing, right? What an incredible person when it comes to music. His signature trait on guitar, and to some sets him apart, is his channeled emotion to really involve the listener. In each note he plays, you can feel his soul, his heart, and his mind all pouring out. And you can feel like you're right there with him. Like you're a part, you're melding in a part of whatever songs he's playing. There's a song he does called Maria Maria. And in this song, he's with the refugee camp, who's of course with the Fugees. Anyway, in the song, the guy is referencing that, Carlos, you can really make that guitar cry. Well, yes, he can. He just has so many different ranges of emotions, and the heart and soul come together in a fusion with music, melding into it, is his amazing ways in which to involve everything. And again, self-taught on everything. That makes him even more of an amazing performer. So he even performed at the original Woodstock, which is, the Woodstock back in the 70s, the 3-day event. He was actually there at that event, and he performed there too, along with some of the greats of all time. We've already discussed this before, but anyway, he was actually there. He has an amazing catalog of music. He had a resurgence in the 1990s, collaborating with many artists. My favorite song is Winning by Santana. Check out the song. I think it's I'm Winning or Winning. Anyway, the song is great. That's my favorite tune, but he's got so many classic rock songs and just timeless songs that we all can get into and we can all get behind and we can all rock out to. Music from the soul with a passion for all things rhythm and blues and jazz, second to none. Carlos Santana will forever and ever be a great guitarist, virtuoso, and Santana, awesome that you're named after such a great person. Incredible. Just one of those amazing people in life, and have always loved his style, his abilities, and all things. Again, check out his entire catalog. He's reinvented himself and done different things, from collaborations to playing renditions of some old, Oye Como Va and all these other songs that have been done by others, but kind of recreated them himself. And one last thing, as I always say and state, that in music, right, in the history of music and all things, in the history of music, you cannot write the history of music without Carlos Santana being a part of what it's all about. You can't. It's not possible. And that's what makes him great. All the Grammys he did, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame he's in, and everything else. Just a great person. Thank you again, Santana, for the inspiration for this mic check. I appreciate all that. And now we're going to move on to Remember the Legends, and we'll get on to that next part. All right, that is the sounder, if you will, that I've created myself for Remember the Legends, legendary people that are on the red carpet and in our hearts, minds, and souls when it comes to really legendary people and giving, some credibility and credence to our history and to some of these people that, may have been forgotten through the whole process. They have, basically someone may not know who they are. They may not have any idea what's going on. They don't know the history. Some older people, or maybe way back when, may have been forgotten in the process of all this, but I'm just trying to, again, build and bring other things to the table when it comes to important things that we need to bring back. Discussions in music, discussions in legendary people and the history of the world and our country and everything else. It needs to get out there. All right. So this time for Remember the Legends, it is Willie Mays, the Say Hey Kid, number 24, a legendary person in baseball, period. Think about it this way. He is coined and phrased in the process of the fact that he's considered by many the greatest all-around baseball player of all time. We're talking all time, above and beyond all other players, just having this amazing defensibility and playing offense and doing all of the things and just being an amazing ambassador for baseball and for the color barriers and all these other things that have gone on and transpired in the history of sports. Because he went all the way from the Negro Leagues and performing and playing there to getting his opportunity to play in the big leagues, which is also Major League Baseball. And along the way has just set an indelible mark and set his precedents, his examples, his smile and all things that his charisma and all these other things he carried that made him great. So let's get into this. Okay. Again, Willie Mays, the Say Hey Kid, number 24. And there's also a song about that called the Say Hey Kid. Born May 6, 1931, died June 18th, 2024. Willie Howard Mays Jr., the Say Hey Kid, played 23 seasons as a center fielder in Major League Baseball. He won 2 MVPs, named to 24 All-Star teams, won 12 Golden Gloves, greatest defensive center fielder in baseball history, period. He made the Baseball Hall of Fame first ballot. He served in the military from 1952 to 1953 in the Army. Thank you for your service, Mr. Willie Mays. He He led 4 years, stolen bases, also had amazing stats, most seasons in all categories. He led in so many seasons with so many different stats, so many different ways. Again, that's why he's considered the greatest all-around player. All right, so anyway, yes, many other players are celebrated for their play on the field. Mays could literally do everything as a player, a five-tool player, if you will, in quotes. Durable, dependable, joined the Negro League at age 16, the Birmingham Barons, and by 1950 was a major leaguer. When the Giants signed the rights to him, one of the first African Americans to play Major League Baseball, Mays would regularly say the following: "Say who, say what, say where, say hey." Again, that's where they got the Say Hey Kid. Personally, I still appreciate what Reggie Jackson, again, this is my personal thing, is my favorite player of all time is Reggie Jackson. Mr. October, he did it for me. Again, I'm a little bit younger when it came to the process of not really seeing Willie Mays play in person because I was born in the 60s and he performed a little earlier than that. So anyway, that's what that's who did it for me for baseball. And again, I'm more the players individually per sports than I am the actual, teams themselves. Call me crazy. That's just what I like and everything else. He was a legend, icon, ambassador, and by many standards, the greatest ever to put the cleats on. Played in the golden age of baseball with some of the greatest players of all time. Just an amazing person. Rest his soul. Nothing but thoughts and prayers and condolences for the family of Willie Mays. And just, like I said, an amazing person when it comes to everything. Incredible. All right. So, basically that's it for this episode. I try to break things up. I don't want to hit anybody over the head with too much information or droning on about whatever. It's an awareness exercise. Get to what you're talking about in that topic of, the hot topic of discussion, whatever it might be, whatever's going on. Next might be a conversation with somebody. I have a good laundry list of people that do want to get on the podcast and also have many interesting and wonderful things to talk about and say. And everything is important. Again, this is what the whole deal is about, is, other podcasts and things are these niche where it's true crime or it's a series of stories or it's this or that and everything else. Mine is the focus of all of you out there listening, being a part of this experience known as the Arena of Ideas podcast, AOI podcast. Again, thank you all for being here and being a part of this process. You can go in, you can help support if you want to. I'm not trying to press anyone, but there's a link there. You can do that. You can also go to the over 20 places, however and wherever you listen to a podcast. Hit follow, hit notifications, thumbs up. I don't care however you do it. Every single one of these different places you can listen, down to Audible, Amazon Music, Podbean, kind of the newer ones that have popped up being there. Look, any way and every way that you can listen to a podcast, you can be there and you can be here and be a part of your podcast. Again, I'm just the host creator, Mike Kingston. And basically that's it. Again, this is episode 48. It's another person's trash. One person's trash is another's treasure. I hope you've enjoyed this and all installments of my episodes. This is being the 48th installment. That's basically it. That covers all the ground and everything else. I just, again, if it's your first time here, I appreciate you being here. If you've come back over and over again and you're liking what's going on, please, by all means, appreciate you. And you can, again, voice your opinions, the way in which word of mouth. You can also go to michaelkingston723@yahoo.com. You can also go to my phone number, which is published in there in the informational part. Please, by all means, do. I don't care where you are and how you're getting this information and getting this content and all things in the Arena of Ideas podcast, but please, thank you for being here and appreciate everyone. And until next time.